Good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're located. Joseph Floyd here, Sound It Plain. I haven't been on here in a while, but it's time. I survived the pandemic, double pneumonia, and I'm here it's a warning, and it's information. It's more than information. It's a call to prayer, but um, my main thing's not the politics and a lot of the stuff, but there's a lot going on. In the last 2 days, been in intercession and prayer with the Russia, Ukraine. I'll just go ahead and say it. And I keep hearing the phrase, the hunters are coming. The hunters are coming. I keep seeing stuff. And so the question is, who or what are the hunters and who's being hunted? Are we talking about deer hunters? What's that got to do with Russia and Ukraine? Well, unfortunately, it's not animals that's being hunted. There's a verse in Jeremiah 16:16. It talks about God sending fishers and hunters, and some theologians interpret that and apply it to that generation around the 5th, 6th century before Christ, or BCE, of the time of Jeremiah's day, and Nebuchadnezzar, and when the children of Israel, the southern kingdom, the temple would be destroyed, Jerusalem sacked, that whole period in there, and then later Daniel, Nehemiah, and all that. And that's a proper application to a degree, because they did send to hunt them, and they either were sent to exile, most of them. Some stayed behind and had to assimilate, and some kind of hid in caves or hid out. But if you read the context, God's talking about restoration, okay? And so when he's talking about restoring his people back to the land, then we have to say, okay, what does fishers and hunters have to do with that? And ever since the temple fell in 70 AD, Jews have been scattered all over the world, primarily northern Africa, Europe, Eastern Europe mostly, and particularly former Soviet Union nations, including Azerbaijan, Georgia, Armenia, the Caucasus mountain regions. But in particularly, you may not be aware of Ukraine and Russia. A lot of Jews in there. In fact, I'll give you a real quick history point. Most of you won't know. There were 6 million Jews that we know of killed, gassed, killed, incinerated in the Holocaust. And of course, now they're trying to deny that there was even a Holocaust. But a large majority of those, there were 2.5 million Jews living in Ukraine before Hitler, at the beginning of World War II. We'll just put it that way. At the end of World War II, there were less than 100,000, maybe 200,000, but it was very minuscule compared to what it was. And I've been to places like Babi Yar outside of Kiev, where 38,000 were killed over a 2-day period. Grandma's Ravine, lined up and shot. I've been to Odessa, and I've been to the museums. I've seen where the Romanian troops threw the babies against the walls as soon as they were born, under orders from Nazis. But nevertheless, I'm not here to berate and go back, and I'm wanting to point to something, because God bless. We're not going to forget what happened. God's calling his people home. And so there's still a lot of Jews in the former Soviet Union. The fishers in Jeremiah 16 are fishing them out. It's a modern term. I've been I've been over there, and I've been with groups like Ezra International that have brought home close to 100,000 Jews all over the world. Most of them in the former Soviet Union, a lot of them. And so it's their land, and it's time for them to go home. It's past time. And most of this started in the last 20 to 30 years. The pandemic obviously hampered efforts. We could sit here and argue all day about why this happened and this, but the point is God promised to bring them home. In fact, it was under the Tsar, and Ukraine's played an important role in the Jewish history. It's very critical. But it's time for them to come home. The Tsar in the 1880s forced a lot of them out of Ukraine. They had to leave, or they had to assimilate, and many of them chose to start going to Israel, what they call Palestine, but Israel, to their homeland. And so that's what began it. The movie Fiddler on the Roof, or play, deals with this topic. It's actually set in Ukraine. So Ukraine is very instrumental. This whole thing, it's not just about gas, oil, apricots, wheat, and sunflowers, food and fuel. And it's not just about minerals. It's about getting these Jews. The hunters are the ones looking for these Jews that have not gone home. Many of them, they can't afford it, or they're missing paperwork. Stalin was probably worse in some regards than previous others that have sought them out. But these are the hunters, people like the Nazis, the Stalins. It's been going on through the age. The Hamans, in the book of Esther. It's a spirit. We're dealing with a spirit. So my thing here is, I'm telling you, the hunters are coming, and that's part of what this is about. I don't know what's going to happen. None of us do. I'm just telling you the hunters are coming, and they're really here. Israel's trying to get a lot of Jews out now. They're telling them to leave, the ones that can, but the point is that we need to pray. We need to pray for these Jewish people, for their safety, their protection, for their salvation, to know Yeshua, to go home. The fishing's been going on, and just like with revival, windows can open and close at any time. So we don't know what's going to happen. But we need to pray, and we need to pray the hunters won't find them. Joseph Floyd, let's pray for the peace of Jerusalem, but let's pray for this situation. And thank God for his mercy that he's given a window for many of them to return home. And so I'll be writing about this more later, and you can contact me if you want to know more. God bless you.